Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, welcome to another stream, and welcome to another video, and welcome Deception Man. Today we are doing part 4 of the Su-57 148 scale. That's this guy right here. So let's get into it, shall we? Alright, so last time we started and finished putting in our missile pod and our intakes. Now you can see that the intakes look a little bit different than they did last time, at least when we finished off last time anyway. I put on these little covers that are on here, got them all lined up and minimized the gaps and everything, and nice and kind of smooth, and yeah, it looks pretty good. And yeah, I can't really complain. It all lined up and matched pretty nicely. Yeah, so that is done. So we're going to be looking at what is next. And so we got to go back to the middle of the book. I was looking at different missiles and things like that earlier because we're coming up to a point where I'm going to have to assemble the missiles for this thing that go on the wings. And because this is my first Russian plane, I'm not familiar with the different missiles that the Russians use. So if we flip over and we go to that section, we see I'm used to like AIM-9X's and Sidewinder missiles and Sparrows and stuff like that, right? AMRAAMs. And, well, the Russians don't use those. They have a K-74M, a K-77M, a KAB 1500, and the KH-31PD. Yeah, so they're totally different missiles than I'm used to. So I had to go online. They don't actually tell me in the instructions what the missiles are. So I had to look up the types of missiles that they put on the Su-57s, and then look up pictures of those online, just so I could see, are they all just plain white, are they silver, or do they have gray nozzles, or they gray tips on them, stuff like that, right? So I did look those up, but those are not what we're going to be doing today. So as we finished off last time, put those covers on the intakes on the front there, and now we got to the engine nozzles. So I have taken the liberty of putting these together. Let's put this guy just over here for now. Taking the liberty of assembling some nozzles. Now, you guys know this plane has thrust vectoring engines, and so we got two different options here. It might be a little hard to tell on the camera. These ones are straight, okay? These nozzles are straight, these two. Just like any plane you'd see anywhere else. But then we have these two, and I'll orient them sort of similar. You notice they're a little crooked because we have these straight ones you're supposed to use if you are displaying this plane in flight, okay? And if you're displaying it on the ground with the landing gear, you're supposed to use these two, which are curved downward, okay? I was thinking, well, wouldn't they just have them like this straight when the plane is parked? But then looking at pictures online, they actually don't. And unlike the Raptor, where if, when the thing is in parked mode and the flaps are down, the engines are still kind of straight. They don't flap down like that. But on this plane, they do. I've seen that in pictures online of this thing, and they do have them angled down. So because I am displaying this with the landing gear down, even though it might look a little strange to have these things angled downwards, that's what I'm going to do. So I have this one completely assembled. This one is not quite. So what they have in the kit is this ring here gets put onto this nozzle here, and so that's what I've done. And then they have this is two parts, two halves that go together, and now it has to go in there like that. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. Let's get this guy glued in here. There is these two little notches or bump things. They go into a little slot, so that's how you line this up. So there we go, there's that. Let's get my glue. Just run that through, down inside there. There we go. Okay. So that's it for that. So that's the nozzles. Okay, those are done. So if we go on down here, we're going to assemble the more inner part of the actual engine. And we have these little cups and a cone and a little wire thing. So I have that already assembled here. Okay, just like that. And that's this one. I don't know why this camera is, it's like its ISO is off for some reason. I don't know why. It's kind of strange. Kind of weird. Anyway, so this is just one piece. It's a cup, like that. Single piece. Then we have the cone that's going to go in the middle here. I've already done that on this one. And then we have our little wire cage kind of thing. And that goes down in the middle there like that. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do right now. And I will use this glue for this. This does only go one way. If you try and put it in upside down, it's not good. You're going to have a bad time. It won't fit properly for you. So just a little bit of glue on the edges here. And then I'm going to drop it in. And then I just kind of press down to make sure it seats. There we go. Okay, and that's that. So Deception Man, I'm not sure. Oh, slightly out of zoomed camera when you pulled it back towards yourself. Oh, like this? Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that, UL. Okay. So, with these done, there's a whole bunch of painting that needs to be done on these. For weathering effects, these things obviously do not just stay nice and silver, even when they're brand new. They get very copperish colored blues, heated steel looks, and yeah, that's a whole process that basically comes at the end for me. But we've got them done. I just painted them in that preliminary gunmetal color, especially on the inside, just to get that done, because once it's actually on the plane, it's a nightmare to try and get in there. So let's move on. We've got fins to make. We're going to assemble some fins here. So we need to get our F tree out. Gotta find our F tree. There's our big effing tree. And so we're going to start off. Oh, we need C tree also. We need C. Where is C? C, C, C. C, senor. E. G. Here's C. We actually have two C's. We have two C's. These are basically our weapons trees. Weapons and landing gear wheels. So we need C38 and 39 twice, okay? C38 and 39. There's 13, 12, 22, 40, 29, 38, 39, right here and here. Not not sure what the difference between 38 and 39 is. They look like they're the same. There's 38. 39. Okay. Now, what's the significance of these two? Depending on if we're doing version 1 or 2. So if we're doing version 1 is in-flight mode. We're going to use C39, which is this one. But we're doing landed mode, so we want 38. So let's go over to this tree and we'll just only remove 38. Okay. Clean these up a little bit. Not sure exactly what the purpose of these are. It's just so for the angle. I guess we'll see. We will find out once I actually get the actual elevators assembled. These are what they're calling 10A and B. Yeah, so these are the elevators. I think it's going to, depending on which one of these do, it's going to depend on the angle it's going to be sitting at. Okay, so let's take a look at F-17 and F-12. It's 13, 11, 15, here's 17. And I need 12. Here's 12. Okay. Let's clean these. Get out my trusty little razor glass file here. Clean these up nice and smooth. Okay. Alright, so these two go together like this. Unlike most things, what they've done is they've beveled this so it doesn't go right to the edge. Like most kits I've seen, it doesn't go all the way to the edge, it's just inside there. Just like that. Okay, so there's where our C is going to go. It's going to go right there. And that probably is going to determine what angle this thing sits at. So let's get this glued on properly. Probably don't need that. Use this stuff. Okay, so those are glued together. Just press it a little tight, get that done. Okay, so that's really all this is going to do. This one is a shorter one. It's not quite as narrow, so that will allow this to come up straight, whereas this one is going to force it to be angled down. So that's how basically it's going to look. So this is going to go in like this, and you see you have that gap there. So you could, if you wanted this thing in flight and actually like it's angling up, you could just glue it like that if you wanted. Which makes it a bit of a shame that, you know, they could have, just my little opinion here, they could have molded this as a separate piece and had you, you know, put this on a pivot so that you could actually position this any way you wanted instead of fixing it to whatever in one static position. So with that being said, I want to make sure my nubs are really clean on these. I don't want them exposed. He's going to go on here like this, just like that. And that's done. So with that like that, in that position, it's forcing it into that slightly downward position, and that will make sense when I put the downward facing engine on there. It's actually facing downward. I have to find the actual position. I believe that's the bottom. It's a little hard to tell sometimes. Maybe because I'm not using that one. There we go. So that's facing down. Helps to grab the actual right part. So that's going to face down, and that will match these facing down like that. I would like to actually have, you know, the actual fins, whatever part of this wing that actually comes down. That would be cool. And I know this forward one does the same thing on these planes. But yeah, anyway. So that's one. We got to do the other one, okay? And the other one, F11 and 14. Here's 11. And 14. Okay. Go. All right. So this is going to go in here. Just like so. There we go. Got our wing together here. One last little spot just to make sure. Okay. There we go. And then we got to put this guy on. Got to clean him up good. A little more. Okay. I would be curious. I am curious. I would be curious. I am curious how this actually works. Does this actually, is this a piece that actually expands and retracts on the actual plane? How does that work? That's interesting to me to see how that's going to work. So I don't need this. That is now garbage. Got our elevators assembled, just like that. Okay. Now we got to do our tail fins. So F13 and F16 go together. So we want 13 right here and 16. Which is going to leave the other two, so I might as well get them off of the tree here now. Okay, those two go together. Extra little bit to get rid of. It is nice that most of the nubs are fairly hidden and easy to get rid of in this kit. Although not all. I wasn't very happy with the nubs on the engines. They're very visible here and in 4 spots. Like, why they need 4 to attach that onto the tree, I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. But it is what it is. So that these guys are going to be able to move, as you can tell by that big pin sticking up. And in similar fashion, so we've got one little locating pin and a little hole there to help line it up, although we don't really need it. Okay. One thing I am very happy about today is the fact that the airplanes aren't taking off in this direction. It's very quiet today. It's very nice. Okay, so there's one. So this has to be flush. Line this one up, just like so. To add a little bit of strength to the middle where it pivots. I think I'm going to add a little bit of glue in there. Okay. Alright, so tail fins are done. So those are done too. And these again are going to go on the top here. Now I've noticed there is a little couple of pieces that are going to go here and here, and that's going to allow these to sit in that little notch and pivot. Okay, it looks like it's going to go like that and allow you to pivot it just like that. So that's cool. So with these assembled, we've got to go to step 9. And step 9 is actually putting the two halves of the fuselage together. So that's always a big step. That's always a very big step. Mating the two halves on any airplane model, you discover finally just how good or bad it fits together, especially once you've got stuff like the cockpit in and everything like that. So it looks like we're doing the same thing here. This bottom fuselage doesn't go right to the very edge of the wings. It kind of sits in a little channel. So that should help with lining it up. Okay, and it seems to line up pretty good everywhere. Seems to be pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to get a few pieces of tape ready. And then just move this out of the way for now. I'll move these also because I don't need them. And move my little engine nozzles. Let's get a few pieces of tape ready here. I have no idea how many I will need of these, but 5 pieces is a good start. Okay. Let's make sure everything's kind of lined up here. And we're going to start with this wing. It's all nicely lined up. I'm going to start with this one. Okay. I am going to put a little clamp on it just to help me keep it in that spot. Let's move to our back here. Just going to hold it for a moment. Take a piece of tape here. It fits together quite nicely. I'm not encountering any resistance on it. You know, normally you have some spots where they don't quite line up right and it doesn't want to stay together, but this is actually coming together quite nicely. Very nice. Okay, moving around to this side. Sorry if I don't have it in a good angle for you guys to see, but I'm trying. Front edge does need to be a little bit convinced to go into the pocket. One thing I did find a little bit disappointing, see this pod right here and right here where my thumb is? Right along here. So on this plane, this is a weapon pod, and they have missiles inside of this. But they did not give me the option of having this displayed open. And that's kind of disappointing, because that's one of the neat features of this plane, is that it's got hidden weapon bays just like in the middle. Not only in the middle, but also sticking out here. These are weapons. There's a missile inside of this. In this plane, and that's really cool, but they don't have that. I don't have the option of displaying the actual missile in there, and that kind of sucks. Okay, let's get this together here. You down. There you go. Let's go to this side. And I'm going to grab another clamp. Actually, I'll just grab one of these. This will work. Now we'll go to the nose. The nose does line up pretty good. There's one advantage to these, where you have a very distinct line that doesn't need to be hidden. So if you do get a bit of a panel line, or you get a bit of a, not a panel line, you get a bit of a gap, it's quite alright. the fit from the top fuselage to the bottom is very nice. I have no complaints about how this has gone together at all. It's gone together very nicely. Yeah, very nice, very well done. Okay, so those two halves are together. All right, so our upper and lower halves are together. And now we've got to find these two little pieces that go in there. And that's going to be E. E's 15 and 16. E 15 and 16. Here's our E tree. F, E. 15 and 16 right here. Boink and bink. Bink and boink. Dink and doink. So that is 16 and 15. Okay. So I assume they only go one side, so 15 goes here, and 16 goes here. So I believe this is 15 here. Yes, just like that. So I'm not sure why they want me to do this and have that like that. Why did they do that? Is this supposed to glue the tail fin in? Now these tail fins are definitely lefts and rights. I can only assume they want the side that has nothing is going to go like this. They kind of have, you can see where this peg, it's not totally round, it's got a flat spot here at the bottom. Okay? And that flat spot looks like it's going to line up to a little notch here. Okay? So if you have it the wrong way around, that notch is not going to line up because it'll be over here and it won't work. It won't sit down all the way in. So this way it'll sit all the way in there. But if I have this on here, does that interfere at all? No. Okay, so I'll just glue that down. Okay, let's clean this one up and put it on. Just like that. Okay, so they're in. So now when I put this on, it sits like that, and I've got some movement, but not too much. It wants to hit and stop. So I guess it's a realistic way of showing that you can't just turn it and spin it around, right? So there you go. So you can have it sitting like that if you wanted, or like this, right? Well, this one doesn't really want to stay. But for the most part, they want to sit just neutral, which is great, because I'm not going to glue them. I'm just going to leave them. Now, they might wind up looking kind of funny if this one's like this and this one's you know, sitting like that, and it's like it's turning. But yeah, so that's great. That's those. And I didn't need so much tape after all. So the next thing they want me to do is put our engines in, and they're just going to drop in. They've got a slot here, but there's nothing indicating any idea of that on here. So this just sits in like that, and that's it. Just like that. So, but I'm not going to actually put them in yet because what was that you were saying about not putting them in yet? There we go. Because if I put them in, I'm going to have to wind up masking them. And I don't want to have to do that because I got to paint this thing black. And so that's going to take my Mr. Surfacer 1500 black. This guy here. Mr. Surfacer 1500 black. That's going to be my base coat, my primer for this thing. Even though it's, you know, a nice gray color and it's supposed to be gray, it's it needs to be black. It needs a primer coat. And that's also going to be a good base for doing pre-shading when I do paint this thing gray. Okay, so but what I do need to do first is mask off the cockpit, and I do want to put a little bit of putty just on the tip here because I have a panel line that doesn't, well, I have a little tiny gap that's not supposed to be there. Okay, so I want to fill that in with some putty, and I will use my Vallejo plastic putty. Just a little dab in there to fill that in. It's very, very small, and it's only because I'm a little anal about that I know it's there, and so I want to just fill it in. Simply because I know it's there. I'm pretty sure nobody else is going to notice it, but I will. So now I'm just making sure that it's level. In fact, while that's drying a little bit, let's mask off our cockpit. Nice thing about the cockpit is I don't have a whole bunch of instrumentation and stuff that's going to be interfered with too much. Apologize if I'm doing a lot of this off camera. I know some guys they'll actually just put the canopy on, and then they mask the canopy, and that's a good way to do it. I don't like doing that because I don't like gluing the canopy on my kits. Just for personal reasons. I don't like gluing the canopy on. I like having the option of taking the canopy off to be able to look at different angles on the inside of the cockpit. I don't know why, I've always been like that. It's just the way I am. Technically, this part I don't need to worry about masking too much, because this part is going to be the light gray color of the plane. It's the exact same color, so this part doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of making sure it's covered for me, and I can just leave it and I can forget about it, and I don't have to worry about it ever again. And I like that idea. So there we go. Okay. So that's masked off. Now, we're going to paint this guy. We're going to get this guy a nice, complete black. Oh! I can't forget about this. So, because I got to do under here too. Remember in the last one, guys, I was mentioning how I had to paint inside here. I had to paint the inside of the intakes a light gray color on each side here. And then that's going to suck if I have to paint the fuselage an actual different color than that. Well, as it turns out, it's supposed to be the exact same color, so I don't have to worry about that at all, right? So that's really cool. But I don't want to paint the missiles. I've already have them installed and painted and everything. So what I'm going to do is put this guy down in there, like so, and he's going to be my mask. But I don't want to risk missiles getting accidentally painted, so I do want to go just lightly. Come on, tape, get off my finger. Just do that, just in case there is some overspray. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know what you mean. So, because anybody who's ever spray painted, you know, overspray happens. It happens to the best of us, and it always sucks. It never looks good. So, I just want to make sure that my nicely white painted missiles don't wind up turning black. Okay, I think that's going to be good enough. Now all I need to do is have that stay there and kind of press that in on each end, but then it lifts it up here. It kind of wants to sit in the hole all by itself without anything, and that should be good enough. Alright, so the other thing is, what about these? Well, I do have the covers for them. F3 and F4. Let's find that F and tree again. And 4. So let's see how these fit. Okay, there's one. Okay, so they're going to sit in there. So the question is, how good of a fit is it? It does fit okay. Although not a perfect fit. What if I took it in? It's not the best fit, which makes me glad I'm that I'm going to be displaying this with the landing gear down, because it's not the best fit. I'll show you. So because it's going to be sitting like this, that's great, but to actually get it to close properly, it's not. It kind of just sits on the edge, and if I was going to be displaying it closed, I'd have to do a lot of shaving to get that to fit properly. But the fact that it sits like that is good enough for me. Okay, so let's move these out of the way so that I can paint. You guys want to see me paint? See how the black go down? Let's see here. I think I got the camera set up for it. Yep. Okay, here we are. And there we go. There we go. How about that? We now have a black plane. Nice and black, right? That's stealth for you. It's going to fly this thing at nighttime only. There we go. Black. Hey, it's an Su-57 Blackbird. So that's going to have to dry for a little bit, and then I'm going to do the same on the top. Okay. But I think that's where we're going to leave it for today, guys. Yeah, I think that's probably where it's going today. Next is going to be the canards. They go on the front here. These little guys are triangular ones. We got to put those together, and then we're going to start working on some landing gear. The missile bay doors. Yeah, that's going to be next time. So we'll work on that next time. So that's where we're going to leave it for today, guys. That's going to be it for now. So I want to thank you guys for coming out. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you for hitting the like button down in the middle there at the bottom. That would be really awesome. Thank you so much for that. And if you haven't already, why not hit subscribe down over here too? Or actually, I think they've moved it, haven't they? Isn't it down over on this side now? The subscribe button? I think so. I think YouTube's going to change that. If you're watching this on YouTube, head on over to my Twitch channel. I'll put on links down in the description box below. You can check out my Twitch channel and watch me live. And well, you're welcome, Uala. And you can chat with me just like Uala did, and Deception Man there. Yeah, and you can watch me live and all that good stuff. And you go on my Instagram if you want. You can check out still pictures of everything that I've built in the past. Every time I finish something, I take a bunch of pictures of it and I upload it on my Instagram. And yeah, I got my Twitter link there too, but I don't do anything on Twitter. But anyway, yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Thanks for coming out. And yeah, we'll see you all in the next one.